I don't know about you, but one of the things I enjoy doing on vacation is going into worshiping at different churches. Because when I go to visit another church, I don't have to worry about anything. I don't have to do anything. I just have to show up and enjoy the moment and be there with the people who are in that space. So unlike every Sunday here, we're, okay, let's get it right. Let's make sure we're doing, it's all going to fit okay. But I'm always a little apprehensive when I go into a church. It's a family kind of affair on vacation because I don't know what to expect. I don't know what the music is going to be like. I don't know what the message is going to be about. I don't know what the people are going to be like. And I'm always looking and concerned, will we be able to fit in? Will this be a good experience for us? And we had a church vacation experience not too long ago. We had the kids with us. We were vacationing with Carol's parents, Lyden and Sue Green, in Daytona Beach, Florida. And just having a wonderful weekend. And, her mom and dad are with us. And Dad's a very traditional worship kind of guy. Dad likes choirs, okay? He likes choirs and choir robes. He likes preachers who wear coats and ties, just like me. And he's very formal, but that's his style, and that's what speaks to him and his life and who he is and what he grew up with. It's just really, and I enjoy always going to traditional service with him. And so Saturday afternoon was there, and Kevin, my son, and I, we got online and started researching for a very traditional worship service for Dad. And we got and looked around, and we looked, and man, where's a traditional service, trying to find a church. And then we found a website that, man, said this has to be a traditional service, because on the website, what they let out with was a picture of this. Who knows what this is? This is a shofar. That's right. This is Old Testament ram's horn that they would use. They would play to call the soldiers to arms. They'd warn the people the enemy was coming. They call gathering together. It's a ram's horn they would blow and, put the word out. And we saw this and said, man, this got to be the most traditional worship service church ever to lead out with a shofar on their webpage. So we thought, okay, that's where we're going to go the next day. So we get up Sunday morning, load up in our 2 cars, and Dad got dressed, as Dad always does. He put on his gray suit, his gray and dark blue tie, his spit shine shoes, his dark socks. And man, he has a flat top haircut at that time. We loaded in the cars and went to this traditional worship service. And we came in and sat down, and I'm still the whole time wondering, okay, what's going to happen here? Are we inconspicuous enough? Can we stay below the radar? We'll be able to fit in. Or what's going to happen next? And the people kept filing in, and the space was full. And the service began. And I couldn't believe it. Not only did their webpage lead off with a shofar, so did their worship service. Up front, they had a shofar I saw sitting there by the podium, and on each side of the stage was a 4x4 board with flags sticking out of it. All kinds of different multicolored flags on one side and on the other. And the worship service began, and one of the men of church went up to that podium area, grabbed the shofar, and started playing it. And it sounded like, ooh, ooh, ooh. I'm not exaggerating here. And then once he started his shofar, then the praise band came up, and they started cranking it. And we're looking around, what is going on here? And then a little lady got up and went to the right pole and grabbed 2 of the flags. And she started waving them all over the place like this. You would have thought she was on the tarmac of O'Hare Airport bringing in 20 planes all at the same time. And the band's playing, the shofar sounding, the flags are waving. And I looked at Kevin, he looked at me, and we both looked at Dad. wasn't moving, didn't blink, just sat there and stared straight ahead the whole time. And I said, Kevin, it's over, son. He's never going to forgive us for this when it's over. Oh, my God. Well, the service finished, and we got out of there as quick as we could. You know, I don't think we fit in there very well, and I don't think I'd ever want to fit in there. And I never dared to ask Dad what he thought about that worship service. But, you know, we all have these kind of feelings, don't we? Especially when we walk into a new space with the people we don't know and things going on around us. We're always asking ourselves, hey, will we fit in here? And we're asking ourselves, what are the rules? Right? What are the rules? What are the societal or social behavior that is accepted in this group of people that I want to learn more about? You know, what is acceptable talk? What is acceptable dress? And we always are constantly trying to figure out the rules. And they're called boundary markers. They're boundary markers. Each group organizes boundary markers. And they're sort of the rules they have to determine who's in and who's out. And we sort of have those same boundary markers in our lives. You know, that we have these and defining ourselves and trying to understand how it all fits together. And why are we always trying to understand the rules? Because I think inside of us we have a deep, abiding need to want to fit in. We want to be accepted as we are. We want to be loved as we are. We want people to just be okay with us and to be loved. Unfortunately, in trying to fit in, though, and we want to fit in so badly, we often start pretending. To pretend to be somebody we're not. To be a person we're not. To talk in a way we're not usually comfortable talking, or to dress in a way we're trying to pretend. But I think if we told ourselves the truth, we would all like to not have to feel like we want and need to pretend, right? To not pretend, to not feel like we need to pretend just in order to fit in, to just be authentic, true to ourselves, fully accepted. And the reality is that's the good news. That's what God wants from us. He wants us to be our true, authentic selves before Him. So He can take our lives and He can use us to become that person that He's created us to be, to live a life that He has for us, to be His people in this world. So today we're talking about, as we continue our series, losing my religion, losing my need to pretend. And we begin by looking at the fact that to lose our need to pretend, we need to lose our religious pretense. Here Jesus is talking to the people. And He says to them, then Jesus said to the crowds and to His disciples, the teachers of the law and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. So you must obey them and do everything they tell you. But do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy loads and put them on men's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. One of the biggest problems of the religious leaders in Jesus' day was their inauthenticity, their religious fakeness. They had all these rules, 613. Now, we're a little bit more chill than that. We only have 612 here at Temple Baptist. Nah, you know that. We don't have 612 rules. But they had 613 rules they tried to keep tenaciously. Every day, all the time. And they lived a boundary marker religion. Only those who could keep the rules were on the inside. Everyone else was on the outside. And they were able to close them off from them. The problem was that they had a zeal for God, but it was external. It was how they acted, what they did, instead of being an internal transformation, religious zeal for God in their hearts. So because they focused on these rules, on the external, they totally miss what God was trying to teach them in the lives that he wanted them to live. Contrary to what you may have heard, the way of Jesus is the way of life. I absolutely believe that the way of Jesus is the way of life. My dad he was getting older and getting close to death. You've heard me say before that he'd say over and over, there's no better life than the life of a Christian. There's no better life than the life of a Christian. And Daddy absolutely believed that was true. And Jesus came to give his life for us so that we can know his life. Because instead of focusing on the external rules, Jesus wants us to focus on the internal transformation that God wants to do in us, in our hearts. You know, it's not about rule keeping, it's about a relationship that transforms from the inside out. It's not what we do on the outside, it's who we are on the inside. And as Jesus changes us on the inside, we have a greater desire to live out of his love and his mercy and grace on the outside. Now, I'm not saying rules are bad, okay? I don't want you to say, oh, Scott said all rules are bad. No, I'm not saying throw out the 10 Commandments. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that God has given us a way of life in a way that he wants us to live and to be in this world. But the commandments cannot change a person's heart. All the commandments do is show us that our hearts need to be changed. And as we come to the point that we realize our hearts need to be changed, then Jesus steps into that moment and comes to us and says, okay, my way is the way that you experience a changed heart and a changed life. You know, and we look at Christians and we say, hey, well, aren't we supposed to be different? Well, yeah. Well, the question becomes, well, how exactly are we supposed to be different as Christians? Are we supposed to be different in the way we treat people? Absolutely. We are to treat them as Jesus would treat them. Aren't we supposed to be more loving? You bet we are. And these are matters and things of the heart on the inside. And Jesus says that the religion we need to lose is the religion where we are always focused on the rules on the external and the outside. We need to lose that so we can open ourselves to what God would have to do with us on the inside. Jesus wants authentic, transparent men and women who stand there before him and say, God, this is who I am. This is all that I am. God, you created me. You made me. I am yours in every sense of the word. But I need you to come into me and make me that person, that individual that you've called me and created me to be. See, losing our need to pretend means we need to lose our religious pretense, but also our need to please others. Any of you have a need to please others? Anyone spend your time trying to please others? Does it weigh heavy on you? He says to the religious leaders and to us, everything they do is done for men to see. They make their phylacteries wide and their tassels on their garments long. They love the place of honor at banquets and the most important seats in the synagogues. They love to be greeted in marketplaces and to have men call them rabbi. You know, the second issue that Jesus confronts these religious leaders with It is their desire to always please others. They spent their whole time in image management. Image management. They were always self-consumed what others were thinking about them. And they wanted to make sure they looked good in the eyes of others. They looked good. They acted good. They were big about titles. They were big about what they had done. They were big about what they looked like. They were big about how they came across. And they're always worried about that they looked right. All right. You ever get caught up worrying about what other people think about you? If you're coming across the way you want to come across, you thinking about them, here, newsflash, all right. They're not worried, they're not thinking about you. They're worried about what you're thinking about them, okay? All right. You're worried about what they're thinking about you. They're worried about what you're thinking about them. And see, so here we are. You thinking about them thinking about you. And we're sort of stuck in this way of trying to please other people. Or maybe you're trapped in some kind of role that you feel like you need to play. You all know me. The role I like to continue playing has a lot to do with how I see myself in the military. I'm going to be honest with you. I like to carry that myself in that military kind of way. I took a lot of pride when I served in the Army. The haircut stays short. I try to stay in shape. I'm all about this way of, but maybe you have a role that you play. Maybe you try to be the life of the party. You got to go in the party and you got to be that person everybody's laughing at, but that's not really who you are. Or you're going to be the person who knows it all, the techno guru who backs off of relationships because you can't ever find out that there's something you don't know and can't get right. It's so hard to stop pretending because we're so afraid that we don't fit in, that if we don't live up to others' expectations, that we don't live up to our reputation. And we all struggled with this desire to please people. And when we seek to always live in effort to please people, we can end up losing the true person that we really are. See, this is the reality for a lot of people. We are all born originals, but most of us die copies. We are all born uniquely and wonderfully created in the image of God. We're all born originals, but most of us die copies because we listen to all these other voices around us and what they're saying and what they expect from us and our reputations and how they want to live and how they want us to be. And we lose the essence, the pureness of who we truly, really are. And so Jesus says to us, he says, as he's talking to the leaders, but you are not to be called rabbi, for you have only one master, and you are all brothers. And do not call anyone on earth father, for you have one Father, and he is in heaven. And nor are you to be called teacher, for you have one teacher, the Christ. See, most people spend their entire lives becoming that person other people expect them to be, want them to be. And we hear all these other voices, but Jesus says there's only one voice you need to concern yourself with. It's my voice. There's only one life you need to live, and that's to live a life for me. Because I created you. I know you. I love you. I know the future I have for you. I know what the best is for you to experience in this life that I've placed in your hand and given you to live and to breathe at this time in history. And Jesus says we are to listen to his voice. You have one master. God. You have one Father, God. You have one teacher, the Christ. One. Listen. Because He alone can set you free. It's sort of like this. Let's suppose you were a world-class violinist. You don't want to hear play the violin? You don't want to play the violin, just a curiosity. Sabrina plays the violin. Okay, this guy doesn't. Never have. Well, suppose you're a world-class violinist and you traveled the world playing beautiful music with this incredible talent and giftedness that God has given you. And people just throng to see you, to listen to the beautiful sounds that you can make over the stringed instrument. And you had this gig set up, and it's a huge auditorium, and it's dark, and you walk in onto the auditorium, and you can't see too well out because of lights and things like that, but you sit and you get ready to play, but you look out, and you notice the crowd looks younger, seems to look younger than you're normally used to playing for. And you notice the front row, they're dressed a little bit differently than they normally dress, but you say, oh, okay, not a big deal. So you pull out your violin and you begin playing. Beautiful sounds. Your greatest composition. But about halfway through, you start to hear people hissing and yelling at you, telling you to get off the stage. And you never had this happen before. And so you walk off the stage, and when you get backstage, you found out that you had been performing on the wrong stage. You were the opening act for Marilyn Manson. And no matter, do you all know who Marilyn Manson is? That's not a, Marilyn Manson is, well, don't worry about it. Okay, but anyway, no matter how well you play that violin and what music you put out there, you would never be able to please the audience because you're performing for the wrong audience. The absolutely wrong audience. And do you understand that? A lot of us spend our lives trying to live our lives for the wrong audience, the wrong people. I want you to know the truth of Jesus, that we perform to an audience of one. We perform to an audience of one. And this one can give us the life that we seek. This one can help us become the person we've been created to be. And this one can set us free. And right now, Jesus is calling us to lose our religion, to lose our religious pretense, to lose our need to please others, and quit pretending. To just be His. And be set free for the life that He has in store just for you. This Sunday is Decision Sunday. And right now is the time that we set aside for decisions to be made. Because following Jesus is a decision. It's a decision of the mind, of the will. Is decision to say, I will turn away from the life that I have known so that I can begin the life that I was created to live. It is decision to give up what you thought was what you thought and begin to concern about what God thinks. A decision to walk away from all these voices and all these people and all these false audiences and begin to perform to an audience of one who's just opening his arms and wants to receive you and to begin to play the music of your life in your heart and live for Him. This Decision Sunday, so maybe your decision right now in this space is for belief, to begin journeying with Jesus, to begin following Jesus, to begin changed by Jesus. If that's your decision this day to come forward and take my hand and us pray together, to make publicly known before God in this body, this community, of your decision to follow Jesus. But maybe your decision today is a little bit different. Maybe you've been following Jesus, but at a distance, not close. Jesus has not informed your life, your decisions. He's there, but in the background. But you want to move him to the front of your life, to lead you to where he wants you to go. To rededicate your life, to recommit your heart, to reignite the passion, that first love for Jesus, and give your life to this God-man who gave his life for you. And if this is your decision of recommitment, of rekindling, to come forward and take my hand and pray with me, and then make public your decision before God in this community of faith. Or maybe your decision is to membership. You want to be part of the team. You believe in what we're doing, where we're going. You believe that we're helping the world, help Jesus' love find the world. And as Jesus' love is finding us, you want to say, Scott, I want to be a member of Temple Baptist Church, the best community, and I want to live for Jesus out of that community. To come forward, to take my hand, to pray with me, to make known your decision before God in this community of the faith. I'm going to ask everyone, just if you bow your heads, just close your eyes just a few moments. These are the decisions for faith, for belief, for recommitment, to join the family. This is your moment in time to say yes and stop pretending. Stop your religious pretense. Stop trying to please others and perform to an audience of one for the rest of your life as God leads you right now.